Welcome into our overtime segment here on SportsSource.tv. Appreciate you watching us every Sunday on Channel 6. Appreciate you joining us here every Sunday afternoon for an extra segment. And what I want to do today, well, first of all, you see that name right there, Jinx Logos? We are having some new hats, jackets, and stuff printed up. It's for me. These guys get nothing. But Jinx Logos is who I trust. Great prices, incredible selection. I'm getting some Nike stuff, and the prices are below anyone else in town. Jinx Logos in terms of outfitting your sales team, giving you giveaway stuff, from T-shirts to really slick jackets, a Tiger Woods jacket that I've got, right up to cups and just any kind of tchotchke giveaway that you want to use. Jinx Logos can do it for you. All right, what we're going to do today, you had the announcers last night talking about after the game, this could be a real turnaround win for the Tennessee program. All right, now to do that, that means you're going to have to be pretty good the rest of the way and also next year, that you've turned a corner. So I wanted to look at our schedule here, Tennessee schedule. I'll move it that way. It's better, it covers me. Tennessee schedule in 2014 and 15, Kentucky, Missouri, and then Vanderbilt this year. You got UAB, you got Oklahoma at home, and Trevor Knight will be back for them next year at quarterback. You go to Florida, which could have a new coach, could have the same coach. Arkansas should be improved. Georgia will be breaking in a new quarterback. Alabama is always going to be good. Kentucky should be improved. South Carolina should be much better on defense, though they'll be breaking in a new quarterback. North Texas at Missouri, and they'll have Matty Mock back. Then Vanderbilt, and Derek Mason, don't write him off yet. He's got an incredibly green team, much like Tennessee did. So he's playing a lot of youth, and they're struggling right now. They should be better. I don't know if they're going to be better enough to beat Tennessee. You look at that, though. Do you think Tennessee's looking at a 7-5, 8-4 season next year? And if so, can you trace it back to the South Carolina game that we'll all look back and say that was the moment?
I think that there's a really good chance at 7-5, 8-4 might be pushing a little bit. They may get there. But I'm so encouraged by what I've seen out of Josh Dobbs. I don't know if he can keep playing that well. But my goodness, what he did against Alabama and then what he did against South Carolina, that makes me think that, and then look at the weapons around him for next year with Jalen Hurd and these receivers and so forth. I think Tennessee's got a chance to do well, and this win against South Carolina could be that springboard.
No, the question is, if you'd had an average offensive line this year, what would your record be? I mean, you probably would have beat Georgia. Yep. Probably would have beat Florida, right? So, I mean, that's why I say I definitely think 7-5, 8-4, you're going to be able to do that next year because the offensive line should be more improved. And you've pretty much got the same rest of the team except for 2 linebackers that you're going to be losing. So, overall, this should be a better team and should be able to achieve that kind of results.
Okay. Chuck, you think this is the turning point moment?
Yeah, I do, and I'll tell you why. Because you keep putting so much into it, and then you're either in these games or you're coming back, but you had kept losing games. And now you have won a game, and you can build on that. You've gone on the road and won, and you feel like you're going to be pretty competitive at home. So, yeah, I think it is, just because you finally reap the rewards of all the effort you're putting into it.
You know what I think? Come on, you played to win the game. Why can't we be 11-0? I mean 12-0. I mean, come on, for real. Why can't we do it?
So South Carolina was a turning point, you think?
I think that South Carolina win was integral to what Coach Jones is doing right now. I think it's big. It is a big point. A turning point was November. We always win in November. That's why we're going to be 7-5. That's how I see it.
And you have to think about this. You've got so many freshmen playing this year. It is a huge difference.
Yeah.
That year off of weightlifting and being in the training room, you come back a different human being. A lot of guys do. They go from being a child or teenager to a man. And so freshman to sophomore year, a lot of these young guys, there can be vast improvements in ability of who they are and what they are.
And I think a perfect example of that, and not to get off topic too much, is Josh Dobbs. I mean, he has gained between 20 and 25 pounds. He's matured in the program, and I think you see that in his growth as a person physically and also athletically on the field.
Along those lines, Worley had gotten better as a quarterback before he just got beaten to death.
Yeah.
Dobbs has gotten better as a quarterback. I think you should feel pretty good about the off-season improvements you see out of the quarterback position with this coaching staff. So that would suggest, I mean it's true, but it should suggest that Dobbs should take another step forward next year. No telling how big it will be, but I would expect him to continue to improve.
Yeah, I would too. Here's another thing that I think the South Carolina win can help, and I am not always a believer that if you practice 15 times for a bowl game, you're automatically better the next year. But I think with this many young players, And with what they're trying to accomplish, I do think there's going to be a better benefit. And I think beating South Carolina is going to help set the stage for your bowl game, give you extra practices, and give you a little bit of a jump start toward next year.
Yeah, I mean, depending on your, whether it helps you in the win and loss column is something that's going to be determined by how many injuries you have, what your schedule is. But just the logic of it should mean that individual players should improve by getting more practice. Let me throw in one thing before I forget it. You're younger than me. I'll forget it. We were talking about a year more in the system. One of the guys I'll point to is A.J. Johnson, who last year, one of the comments on it, well, he's not fast enough. How much faster does he look this year in his second year in this system, second year knowing what his responsibilities are in this system? I think that some of what you're seeing out of Tennessee, you're still going to have that paralysis by analysis in terms of young guys not knowing what they're doing. So next year, some of these guys that are already looking better than the guys we've had in the past, I think they are going to take a step forward, just not only weight room and film room, they're going to be in that system. It becomes a natural, you know what you're looking for in a certain play.
Well, just this. Hopefully, a defense has a defensive coordinator that's with them for 3 years in a row. I mean, when's that
first
been?
time in
When's
ages,
that
yeah.
been the case? I mean, just those kinds of things are just huge advance improvements of what your team can be able to do, and just overall, I think you take a look at it. The Alabama game maybe could have been the turning point. That you go down 27 to zip and look like you're about to get walked out of there 60-0. To me, that may be more of a turning point than you beat South Carolina, because the fact that you went back and you said, we're not going to get run out of here, and we're going to come back and put ourselves in a position to look competitive, to me that may be bigger in this game.
So
I
maybe you
don't
don't
know.
beat South Carolina if you didn't rally against
I think so.
Alabama.
I'm thinking being down 42-24 on the road with just over 5 minutes to go.
Yeah, that's big one, too.
Back and winning that game.
I can see where you're going though, because that's
yeah,
where
I
that's
agree.
where Dobbs came in.
Yeah.
That's when things started to shift. Your offensive line. That's the game where you had some changes on that line. 60% of the players were in new positions and everything. Gillum comes back in, and that's been a huge difference. That's a pretty good point. You may look back and it was the loss to Alabama where things started to change.
I think it's the one play Cam Sutton when he stripped the ball from the guy who was going in for a smooth touchdown. That play was huge for that whole morale of the team. As far as players getting better next year, with one position we always exclude when we give an analysis is that tight end position. That's one more year of guys. I believe 2 of them have opportunity to play on Sunday.
We'll finish it this way. I think a lot of Vol fans would have loved to have snapped the streak to Florida. A lot of Vol fans would have loved to snap the streak to Alabama and beat Lane Kiffin. But I don't think anybody's sneezing at the opportunity to beat Spurrier twice in a row and to leave him Spurrier. Somebody last night sent me a tweet that said you can't spell upset without Steve Spurrier. Pretty good. Thanks to these guys. Thanks to you. Thanks to Jinx Logos and all of our sponsors. We'll see you next Sunday at 11 a.m. on The Sports Source.